Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on August 1st, 2016. Yes, August has arrived. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by our Alex Gleitman. Alex, this is our first show since Emory Jones committed to Ohio State, which happened on Friday. So let's begin by talking about the 2018 quarterback prospect. Interestingly, he's the highest-ranked quarterback to commit to Urban Meyer during his time at Ohio State thus far. Jones is ranked as the number 3 dual-threat quarterback in the country and also the number 34 overall recruit in the country. He's really knocking on the door to be a 5-star. So just talk about the fact that this is the highest-ranked quarterback to commit to Urban Meyer during his time in Columbus thus far. Just your thoughts on Emory Jones becoming a Buckeye.
I think it's a great pickup for Ohio State. I think the kid is the real deal. Between his passing, strength and accuracy, he could run the ball. He's a perfect fit for the spread option. He's a smart kid, and everything I'm hearing from everyone I talked to at Ohio State is they absolutely love him, and not just because they got him. I was hearing that way before. They liked Phil Jerkovich a lot, who was another one of their quarterback targets, but they had him and Emory Jones right up at the top. They would have loved to have landed either of them, but I'm hearing some pretty lofty expectations for the kid. When he gets to the college level, they think he's the real deal, and right now, from what I'm hearing, they like him better than both 2017 quarterbacks they have, and some people even like him better than Dwayne Haskins as a fit for Urban Meyer's system. So I think there's going to be, when he gets to campus, Emory Jones, we'll see which quarterbacks are still left and whatnot. It could be Joe Burrow, Dwayne Haskins, Danny Clark, Tate Martell, and him, which would be an incredible quarterback room. You might have some guys transfer. You might have Joe Burrow leave early for the NFL if he does really well. So, we'll see what happens. But it's going to be a crazy competitive quarterback room, regardless when Emory Jones gets there. But there's very high expectations on the kid. So, unbelievable pickup for Ohio State.
I love how Emory Jones just committed with no frills, just committed on Twitter. He could have had one of these press conferences, and everybody would have been on the edge of their seat. But no, he just seems like a no frills, business-like young man for a kid that's just entering his junior year in high school. That's impressive. Talk about that, just the way that he is just kind of seems like a good kid, a no frills kid. And did it ever get really close between Ohio State and Tennessee?
Well, I guess to speak to him as a person, that's just the type of kid he is. He's a laid back. He reminds you of JT Barrett a little bit, laid back but confident, a leader in the locker room. Just a super nice kid. He doesn't crave the limelight. He's not on Twitter saying dumb things or anything like that. He's on Twitter a lot, like all teenagers are these days, but he's not saying dumb things. He's just, if you ever talk to him, he's an awesome kid, a great person, a leader off the field, and he kind of he only does interviews when he has to. It's not like he's craving the media spotlight. As you said, he didn't do a press conference. He did do a Bleacher Report video. I'm sure they approached him on that. But even in that video, a lot of people will kind of tease with the other schools and then at the end make a decision. It was just straight up drone over the top, and it was the Ohio State logo. That was it. So, there was no screwing around with him. He's an awesome kid. When it comes to how his recruitment played out, it was close, I think. I think so Tennessee was his pick. And he was probably going to commit to them the next day, and then Ohio State calls him and offers and says, Emory, you have an offer from Ohio State. And he was claiming Ohio State was his dream offer, and we know how that's worked out in the past. It hasn't really worked out very well for Ohio State, but he said, it's my dream offer. I gotta take a look at them. I grew up watching Terrell Pryor, then Braxton Miller, and I love that offense, and I think I'm perfect for it. I gotta go take a look. So we came up for a visit, and I think after that visit, it was all Ohio State. He loved Ohio State. But, Tennessee was still recruiting him hard, and he obviously liked them a lot, enough where he was about to commit to them. So, he took another visit back down to Tennessee the day before he was at Ohio State. He liked it again. Everything was good about Tennessee, but he came to Ohio State for Friday Night Lights, and that sealed the deal. He came into that trip knowing that Ohio State was probably going to be his pick, and then that trip just solidified it. So, was it close? Yes. But it wasn't close enough for anyone, me, Bill Kurelik, Steve Wilfong, to really be concerned about our crystal ball picks in for Ohio State, which we made, after the first visit for Emory Jones. We were not, and more importantly, the Ohio State staff wasn't really worried about, Tennessee being a threat, especially after that second visit for Friday Night Lights.
All right, looking ahead, who do you think will be the next 2017 commitment for Ohio State?
It's spots are limited, and they're going to be really selective the rest of the way. But I think so with that in mind, I think the next commit for 2017 is probably going to be Tyjon Lindsey, whether he makes it on his planned announcement date of August 22nd or whether he decides to, move that date up a little bit into August. But I think Tyjon Lindsey is going to be the next commit. And then I think a couple days after that, Ohio State's going to land Trayvon Grimes on August 24th. So the Buckeyes could basically have 2 5-star players here. And Tyjon actually was moved down, I think, to a 4-star, even though he's 29th overall and by 24/7 Sports and 31st overall by the composite. So the last ranking he'll be a 5-star. So they could have 2 5-stars in a span of 3 days at the end of August, which will be, another tremendous haul for Urban Meyer, and it'll give actually Ohio State their first wide receivers in the class of 2017.
What's the latest on 5-star safety Jeffrey Okudah from the 2017 class?
Yeah, well, first off, I think actually he's been moved to a cornerback in the rankings, but which is interesting because I know Ohio State is recruiting him. I've been told they're recruiting him as a cornerback, but one that could potentially move to safety as well down the road, similar to what they did with Jordan Fuller last year. Jordan Fuller's still working with the cornerbacks right now, but he's also learning safety too because he knows, it's a thin position. There's a good chance he can move there, 1, because of need, 2, because it might be his better position. So that's where Ohio State looks at Jeff Okudah as, and now it's been adjusted in the system. But as far as his recruitment, some good news for Ohio State fans this weekend. Jeff was supposed to go to Oklahoma, up to Norman, for their big barbecue weekend, big recruiting event for them, and he didn't make it. What Oklahoma staff or Oklahoma site, the 24/7 Sports OU Insider is reporting is that, Jeff canceled last minute. His mom booked a tutor for him for a big test he has to take. I wasn't sure if it was the SAT or I think it was actually some other test that he has to take. But his mom booked a tutor for him, so he couldn't go because he had to go for a tutor. I mean, I don't know. We hear excuses all the time. Even Ohio State, kids can't come up for whatever reasons. But the bottom line is that's good news. He didn't make that trip. Oklahoma is really, to me, the only threat at this point for Ohio State. I see Ohio State as the fallen away leader for Jeff Okudah. I think he's going to take a couple official visits. He'll go to Oklahoma for the Ohio State-Oklahoma game. He'll probably come up to Ohio State. My guess is for the Nebraska game on November 5th. And maybe he'll take 1 or 2 more, Florida State. Maybe he'll go out to Stanford. I don't know exactly. Clemson, I know, is a school he's talking about making an official visit to. So I think he'll take a couple of official visits, and then I think either right after his high school season ends or maybe later in the fall, right after he takes, his 3 or 4 official visits, whatever he's going to take, I think he'll make a decision for Ohio State in the end.
It's a great recruiting wrap-up right there. Let's turn the page and talk a little bit of team coverage as we close the show out here. Ohio State's players move in this Saturday, and the Buckeyes' first practice is this Sunday, so that's pretty exciting to think about. Alex, as you look ahead to Ohio State's 2016 season, who will lead the Buckeyes in rushing this year?
Dave, that's a tough question because, you don't have – I mean, you might have, but going into camp, we're assuming the Buckeyes aren't going with, just one bell cow rusher in their backfield. Last year they had – or the last couple of years they actually had Ezekiel Elliott. This year, I think it's going to be Michael Weber, but at the same time, I think, Urban Meyer said many times Curtis Samuel and Dontre Wilson are going to have roles in carrying the football, and I think it's really smart to make sure that at least, especially Curtis Samuel gets a chance to carry the football. So that's going to limit on Weber's carries, and then you have Antonio Williams who may get a couple reps, if he proves he's worthy of them. But so with that in mind, I think some of the backfield carries that Elliott would have handled the whole load. I think it's going to kind of be split amongst some of those guys. Weber getting the primary, being the primary leader as far as number of carries. So I think with that in mind, I think it's going to be J.T. Barrett. I mean, they say they want to run the quarterback less, but at the end of the day, Urban Meyer's offense is running best. Obviously, you need to have a passing game so that everyone's not stacking the box, but it's running best when the quarterback has the ability to tuck the football and run. And that running the read option and the zone read and, those design runs where they like to, kind of put the second tight end in motion and kind of just run behind those guys. I think, you're not going to see those things go away. And I think J.T. Barrett, being a 4th-year junior, knowing this offense like the back of his hand, I think he's going to, once again, kind of be running a lot and lead the Buckeyes in rushing, just mainly, again, because Weber, Samuel, Wilson, Williams, whoever else wants to get in the mix. I think they're going to kind of take away carries from each other and opportunities to surpass JT in rushing yards.
I agree with you. I think it'll be J.T. Barrett. I could see a scenario where Curtis Samuel leads the team in rushing or Mike Weber leads the team in rushing, but I do think when the chips are down, if I had to pick one guy, I think J.T. Barrett will lead the team in rushing. As you said, I think they do want to preserve his body more. I think they're going to try and throw in maybe some of the lesser games a lot more than they did the last few years. But I think, in big games like at Oklahoma, at Michigan State, Michigan, I think JT's going to run the ball a lot in those games. They're going to go with their bread and butter. We'll see. I know they're planning on throwing the ball a lot more this year, so we'll see what happens. But I agree with you. I'm going with J.T. Barrett. Great stuff, as always, out of Alex Gleitman. Thank you, Alex. And thanks to the listeners out there for tuning into the show. Hope everyone has a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.